Most of my experiences of sexual assault or harassment or comments that have made me feel uncomfortable or objectified have been when I've been working in hospitality jobs. The main one was when I was 21 and I was working in a pub in London just after I graduated. And I was leaning on the bar one night, the sort of customer side of the pub. And this guy just came up to me and slapped my bum really hard and then squeezed it. And then slipped a £20 note into my front pocket. And I remember feeling so kind of violated and degraded. Firstly that he'd done it, but also the putting the money in the pocket was such a violation that he'd reached into my front pocket, and such a violation that he felt that he could assault me and then pay for it, and that would be okay because I was a waitress. And I was working with a couple of other women about my age, and they were really, really supportive. My boss was less supportive. He asked me to go and talk to him a couple of days later and said, I know you're upset about what happened the other day, but you're a young, attractive woman and this is the environment you've chosen to work in. Those were his exact words. And then shortly after that, he cut my hours. I don't know if it was directly related, if he just thought that I was a troublemaker, because when this guy did that, I took the £20 note out of my pocket and I gave it back to him and I said I didn't want his money and that he should keep his hands off. He was a regular customer and he was a big tipper, and so they didn't want to lose his business. And that was clearly more important than, the fact that he'd assaulted me. I think that's the worst thing that's happened, but I have countless other examples of comments. I think just comments that have been objectifying or inappropriate, that have made me feel really uncomfortable when I've been working in waitressing and bar jobs. One time I was working behind the bar and a guy came up to me and my colleague and said, asked us if we were students, and then said, yes, well, I thought you were much too pretty and intelligent to just be waitresses. There's just so much in that that's offensive. And it made us both feel really uncomfortable. And then one time I used to work in a hotel, and I was the only waitress on shift one night with a chef who didn't normally work there. And he just made loads of really inappropriate comments about how my bum looked nice in the skirt that I was wearing. And then when I looked clearly uncomfortable, he told me that I should smile more, a classic. And in between this, he was telling me all about his daughter, who was clearly only a couple of years younger than I was at the time. And obviously it's irrelevant. You should be able to treat a woman with respect and not objectify her whether or not you have a daughter who's about her age. But something about, I don't know, I know that he's the kind of guy who, he would be utterly appalled if someone was talking about his daughter like that. And yet he clearly thought that I was fair game. Didn't, stop when I was clearly uncomfortable, thought he was complimenting me. And didn't realise that actually it was the two of us alone in an empty hotel and him making comments. This middle-aged man making comments about my bum was actually made me feel really uncomfortable. And I think that it's really rife in that industry. In every industry, but I think maybe it gets talked about less in that industry because it's not particularly glamorous and people working in it often young, maybe vulnerable, probably on minimum wage, don't have a lot of power. It's kind of precarious work, so you don't want to make a fuss because you don't want to lose your job. But yeah, I think it just shows that it's sort of endemic across every industry, and particularly in ones like that where people maybe don't have a lot of recourse to power or the sort of ability to do anything about it. I think it's really important that it's acknowledged and challenged. And yeah, I think I've usually felt able to challenge it in the moment. I had a go at the guy who touched my bum and put a £20 note in my pocket. I had a go at this guy but not everyone feels able to do that. And I know sometimes it can be quite shocking, or you can feel uncomfortable, or you don't exactly know what to say in the moment. And that doesn't mean that you're weak or that you're making it up. You know, everyone reacts to it differently, but doesn't make it less of a problem. Yeah, and I think what those experiences have shown me is just kind of how entrenched the idea of like objectification and just how normalized assault is. Like it's assault to touch someone in a sexual way when they don't want you to. You've never met them, you've never spoken to them, and it's harassment to, you know, talk to someone in a sexual way when they clearly aren't comfortable with it, they clearly haven't invited it, and they indicate that they want you to stop, and then you're just told, you know, to lighten up because it's a compliment. Well, you know, fuck you.